I mean, let's be honest. This is, and I'm going to railroad this thing again because, I mean, this is Jeff Goodman, who the other night tweets out during the Alabama UCLA game that we deserve to see Alabama play Michigan. And no offense. He said, no offense, we deserve seeing Alabama play Michigan. And I replied back to his tweet, I take offense to that. And guess what? On the other night, on Tuesday night, I called Jeff because I saw him sitting there at the end of the court. And I say, did we really deserve Alabama, Michigan, or did we deserve this magical moment from my UCLA Bruins? Come on. The disrespect.
So Farnham, real quick, I want you to take off the ESPN suit and tie. I want you to put your UCLA jersey back on and talk to me about how much fun this run has been as a UCLA alum, as a UCLA
fan. Okay, we're
fan.
streaming this, so I can take 20 seconds.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, go do it.
You guys talk amongst yourself. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. Yeah. Come back.
You're gonna love this.
Farnham, it's crazy, Rob. So I've known Farnham. The first time I think I ever dealt with Farnham, he was doing a radio show.
No, look at this. All right.
There you go. Like Letterman jacket. What is that? What that is?
Better yet, this is my UCLA Letterman jacket.
There it is.
So I will definitely put this on right now for this conversation. Then I'll take it back off again. We're using this during the slam dunk 3-point competition. We're doing like an old school, like rep your school. Danny Manning's got a bunch of Kansas stuff. They got a bunch of UCLA stuff for me. So they asked me to bring this. So I didn't necessarily believe that I was going to be sitting here getting ready to watch my Bruins in the Final Four with it, but I'm excited.
You should put your career points up against Danny's career points when they do the intros. You know how they put like your resumes.
Yes, we should. I mean, I'd be right there if you like minus 3,000 of his points.
Exactly. Maybe you could borrow a few or something. I was telling Dauster, you and I think we first met and first talked, right? I mean, it had to be like 15 years ago now, Sean, when you were doing the Fox show, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we've known each other a long
Fox Sports Radio with Chris Myers. And I used to come back here for the Final Four. And then you would come on as a guest back in the day on the show and talk college basketball with us. And that's how you and I met. Okay, so I took off my ESPN analyst. I'm wearing my UCLA jacket. Okay, so go ahead, Rob. Where are we going with this?
Well, I just want to know like how much fun has this run been? I mean, the weird thing about this is UCLA, right? But it's also you made it from the first four, and now you're in the Final Four, second team to ever do it. So it's this weird coming together of the most storied program in the history of college basketball, while also being kind of like a little bit of a plucky underdog, so to speak. So how's this one been? It's not expected.
No, it wasn't expected, especially with the way they played in the Final Four games. I mean, they had leads in all of those games at like the 10-minute mark in the second half, and then they just crumbled defensively. And you were like, man, what is going on? Like, why can't they finish out games? And then you look back and you're like, man, do you realize UCLA lost the Pac-12 championship because they could not defend 2 out of bounds underneath? Mm-hmm. They couldn't stop Stanford and Oscar da Silva with 0.6 seconds left, cut to the basket, layup. They couldn't stop Taj Edey hitting the 3-point shot in the corner to lose the game to USC. They win those 2 games, they win the Pac-12 championship. So that's how thin the margin was for them winning the conference championship and being the number 1 seed in the conference tournament versus being the 4th seed, losing to Oregon State in the opening round in Vegas. So you sit there and you're like, man, how disappointing. And then you're like, oh man, they play Michigan State. They just beat 2 number 1s and a 2 to get to this moment. I can't believe that they put Michigan State in there. They're physical, they play defense, and all of a sudden, they're up double digits, and here come the Bruins. And you're like, wow, like we got a chance. And then you advance out of the first round of the tournament. And then I thought whoever was going to win the Michigan State UCLA game would beat BYU. I did believe that, even though I saw BYU take Gonzaga to the brink, at least in the first, they're up 12 at halftime on them. The best half that we've seen played against Gonzaga all season long. And then when they won that game, it was like, okay, who they got? Oh, they got Abilene Christian. Texas lost. Okay, so that kind of opened up a little bit for them. And then you're like, okay, well, Alabama. Look, Alabama won the SEC regular season. They won the conference tournament. They're not beating Alabama. Alabama's defense, they're going to turn them over. They're going to high pressure them. They're going to make shots. And then they win. And Goodman's all upset. And, in that game too,
I was.
It's pretty amazing because you think when that shot goes down at the end of regulation, there's no Johnny Juzang. You got 5 more minutes, and they came out and they scored 23 points in 5 minutes. They exploded offensively in overtime. And I was amazed with how they performed in that moment. And then against Michigan, I actually thought they matched up better with Michigan than they did with Alabama. And they controlled that tempo. And I've heard a lot of narrative in the last 2 days. Oh, well, they it's too bad Michigan had to play without Isaiah Livers. Okay,
right,
that's cool.
Right.
It's too bad that Mick Cronin had to coach this entire season without Chris Smith. It's too bad that Jalen Hill isn't part of this team right now for personal reasons. It's too bad that Deshaun Nix, their number 1 recruit that they had coming in, went to play for the G League Ignite. That's too bad. So if you're Michigan and you're upset and you're like, well, if we had Isaiah Livers, we would have won the game. Let me put a pin in that and just tell you this. If you played us 10 times, you're beating us at least 8, maybe 9 of those times. But it didn't matter because you didn't beat us on Tuesday night. And the reason why they didn't beat on Tuesday night is, again, they didn't play well. Franz Wagner didn't play well. There's usually a reason why a team doesn't play well in the NCAA tournament. It's usually because of the opponent. It's usually what the opponents scout and the discipline that they show at the defensive end of the floor. And if there's one criticism you had of UCLA this year, it wasn't about what they were doing at the offensive end of the floor. It was about what they did at the defensive end of the floor. They were not a good defensive team. This NCAA tournament, they have become a much better defensive team, in particular with Tiger Campbell. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they lost those 4 games in a row heading into this, and it allowed Mick Cronin to put his thumb down a little bit on this team and say, guys, we tried it your way. We tried to outscore everybody. We lost to Washington State, and we scored 74 points. It's about defense. You want to win in March, it's about defense. And the guys actually bought in. They're playing for him. They're playing for each other. Johnny Juzang is breaking records at UCLA. Literally, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the only player to score more points in their first 5 NCAA tournament games. He scored the same amount as Bill Walton. Like, I talked to his dad after the game the other night, and I was like, you know what? No matter what happens in your son's career, he will always be introduced, at least at Pauley Pavilion, as the most outstanding player of the East region in 2021 that led the Bruins to the Final Four. For the rest of his life, that will be how he is announced.
Pretty cool.
And if you thought that after he transferred from Kentucky, then you know a lot more. You had a crystal ball. You should go to Vegas and just be throwing money all around on games because nobody saw that coming.